My name is Kelly Heuer. I'm a postdoctoral fellow at the Kennedy Institute of Ethics here on campus. One thing we noticed right away is that the infrastructure of the university solves a lot of pedagogical problems for us. It's built in. We have libraries on campus. We have research support staff at those libraries. We have amazing researchers and information specialists who can help guide us and our students to resources that already exist. They can be checked out. All you need to do is be a member of the university. You can access those for free. Resource management and pedagogical resource acquisition and surfacing and curation has been an enormous challenge. So when you think about the kinds of pedagogical materials you can use to be teaching students, we're looking at a bioethics course, so it's interdisciplinary. We often draw from a variety of different sources, from law, from medicine, from theology, and of course from philosophy is absolutely our emphasis at the Kennedy Institute of Ethics. Usually we do that by drawing things from books and from journals. Occasionally we'll be looking at online government resources that are free and open already, but most of this stuff is copyright protected. And so we face a choice. Do we engage in a very what could be a very protracted and incredibly legally complicated, because we're all making up these rules as we go, at the fringes of information management and intellectual property. Do we engage in trying to obtain the right to use a lot of these resources from people who are very confused about what MOOCs are anyway? Or do we try and find information that's already available online or that we can place online without breaking any rules or stealing anybody's intellectual property, so that we can know how to build a curriculum around those resources? So one of the things that we've worked very hard to do is to utilize the strength of some of the librarians at the Bioethics Research Library, which coordinates very closely with the Kennedy Institute of Ethics, and also some consults with Lowinger, and our contacts up at edX who are in contact with the members of the edX Library Consortium about strategies here. What can we do? Is it best to speak first to faculty and say, all right, Professor Veach, when you're teaching about physician-assisted suicide, what articles do you assign? What do you have students look at? Do you have them look at other people's advanced directives? Is there this particular article you always do? And then take that one step back that Karen was mentioning before, as we do about so many choices we make in the classroom that we can't make in the MOOC context. Why do you use that article? What's good about it? Because we may not have that article, and we may not be able to ask students to read it because we're looking at a broad array of demographics in the class, and we can't assume excellent English language competency or that we've been able to train them philosophically, or more to the point, that we're going to have the rights to use that. Why do you do that? What's important about that? Are you looking at philosophical acumen there? Is there a list, is it a really good grounding in certain kinds of details about the legal facts that we may be able to get elsewhere? And then in combining the pedagogical expertise of the faculty with the informational expertise that the librarians can provide, you can be very creative about trying to seek out and find other repositories of information that we can use. And once we know we have them in hand, we know we can count on students having access to information in that way and be able to design a curriculum around it. But that's just one example. There are many other aspects in our course where we're stopping and looking and saying, all right, I've taught bioethics courses before, I've taught philosophy courses before, and I have a kind of intuitive sense, not only of what I can rely on the university and the library context to be able to provide me with for the students, but also I have a sense this topic, students really struggle with this topic, and so it's best for me if I have 20 minutes of lecture, a small group discussion. This topic went well last time I taught it, and I know I'm going to want to have open office hours in these 3 ways. Now, having 20 minutes of uninterrupted lecture, you cannot do on the MOOC platform. Having a small group discussion in a way that, say I want to stimulate civil discourse among my students, it's very difficult to understand how you model that in a massive open or online context. Office hours is again something that's a challenge. And so again, we have to take that step back. What's the actual value? When I feel I have a sense of how to teach a particular topic, or other faculty members do and they share that with me, we have to step back and say why, because we're building something very dissimilar. Our course is a 6-week introduction to bioethics. It's modular, so it begins with an introduction, it's that 6 weeks. Then you can tack on topic-specific modules of 4 weeks each. We're looking at one in clinical research ethics, possibly one in feminism and bioethics, or genetics. So it's a very different way of conceptualizing what introducing somebody new to bioethics would even involve. we're natively designing it for the platform. And so we're trying to bear in mind all of these things, not just what the heck are we going to give people to read or to watch, or do we have access to documentaries? What images or graphs can we provide for them? But also, what kinds of interactions and assessments can we provide for students? How are we going to be able to gauge people's understanding of really rich, thick, complex, often contentious topics? It can be very easy, well, I shouldn't say that, it can be very difficult to keep things civil in a course like bioethics, where we're talking about abortion, we're talking about euthanasia, we're talking about a lot of sensitive issues where many people will have had personal experience in their own past with elder care. Opinions can be very forceful and emotions can run high. It's not always easy to moderate that in the classroom, but it's a lot easier, we speculate, in a small group where you have face-to-face contact with people and you can build trust over time and make the space for those kinds of conversations. How on earth do you do that when the only contact you have with your peers in a course in the MOOC is mediated by a glowing screen and they're reduced to a little username? How can we try and understand what's important about those conversations and import that back to the platform? So natively designing for the platform is something we are trying to bake in. We're moving from our own experience has always been with teaching 13-week introductory courses, because that's the semester length here at Georgetown. This is really different. And we're also team teaching the course, which provides another layer of challenge. There's a learning curve for faculty, just in terms of camera comfort. And then, of course, in terms of really thinking pedagogically, how is what I'm doing really dissimilar from everything that I've done for my entire career teaching students? We get to do that 7 times because we have 7 faculty members. And we're also dealing with a multiplicity of teaching styles. So that's one of the wonderful things about the great lineup that we have at the Kennedy Institute of Ethics, a wide array of bioethics scholars and educators. But there's a real challenge about understanding, again, 7 times. Well, what is it? Karen, as you just saw, is a phenomenal presenter, super engaging. We need to make sure that that translates to when you're just watching her in 7-minute snippets in an online context where she's interspersed with other people. Some people write a lot, and it's that they're like itchy if they don't have something in their hand. We want to be able to utilize that without imposing it on other people who are very comfortable standing at a podium and presenting like that. We want to learn what makes their teaching styles effective. How do they connect to students, and how can we backward design from when we're talking about importing some of that expertise to the online content? Again, 7 times. So there are enormous opportunities that I think we can see as the flip side of some of these challenges. Just in closing, you might have concerns. I was highlighting a number of them before. How do we ensure civil discourse and real learning takes place around contentious issues? One of the most important things we try to do in philosophy courses, especially applied ethics courses like a bioethics course, is to model civil discourse across difference among and between our faculty. And so this is a great opportunity to do that. We can showcase a number of different conversations. But we also try and make sure it happens between and among our students. And one of the best things I think many of us can think back to our own early learning experiences is learning from other people in the class, hearing them wrestle with an issue, hearing them raise a question you wouldn't have thought of, or hearing one of their personal experiences with something, even if it's very sensitive, that you were talking about. How much greater is that opportunity when you'll have something in common now, being signed up for this MOOC with somebody literally on the other side of the globe with whom you might have almost nothing else in common, to be able to find points of commonality. That's a tremendous benefit. And there can be something probably also as well liberating about anonymity in online contexts. We've seen that as well. So you want to try and look at some of the challenges I've been identifying. They can feel staggering when you line them all up like this, but a lot of them have an obverse, which is we are, as I was saying about the copyright voyages, making some of this up as we go along. It's iterative, we're learning from mistakes and from failures, but it's also a tremendous opportunity because we are in a sense inventing the next wave in higher education. And the fact that we here at Georgetown in a partnership with a not-for-profit like edX have the capacity to touch so many more people than we do just here on campus is something I think we're all really excited about. Thank you.